with 3iSupply.net, coming today with Aqua Rocket and Hydroflex with Mike Tony's. We are trying, as we said, one of the things that we're trying to do is give you as much product knowledge as possible from the manufacturers, from the people that are making these products, giving you reviews, real life interviews, things that we've done, videos that we've made. And give you inside information about these products. So we think that it's important not to just have a video that's up that talks about these products, but we think it's really important to talk about the dynamics, why you should have a Aqua Rocket or a Ripsaw over other products. Now, I'm not saying that other products are good and they're bad, but we've had such good experience even over just the last couple of days with the Aqua Rocket as well as the Ripsaw that we wanted to schedule a time today to have Mike join us. And he's live. We're going to be bringing him here in just a second and have him talk a little bit. I'm going to throw him a couple of softballs out there for a couple of questions. But at any moment you guys have any questions, feel free to post those inside there. And we'll try to answer those as well as we can. So I'm going to bring Mike in. I'm going to kind of dip down here on the corner. Here's Mike. I'm going to switch this over here. His name is Mike. He's with Hydroflex. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, I'm doing good, Mike. Hey, thanks so much for having us. We're excited to have 3i Supply as one of our partners there in the Tampa area. And yeah, excited to tell the story today.
Well, that's good. Well, let's kind of talk a little bit. Let's kind of start off with the beginning basics of it that's here. I want to start off with, can you give us kind of an introduction to Hydroflex Incorporated? Tell us about who you are, what you're about, and tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, Mike. So yeah, Hydroflex, we started in about 2002. Our co-founders, Jamie and Gary, they had a lot of experience as engineers in the high pressure pump world. And as they looked at the products available and what was on the market, they decided that their vision was that they could bring some innovation to the tools and technology that everybody was using at the time. So with a little investment from both, a beer fridge, they got their start in 2002. And they've continued to bring new product and new innovation to the market. Today, roughly 80% of our sales is car wash, chemical injection systems, and all the components that will go along with that, including low pressure nozzles. And we've evolved to say, well, where do we have a great understanding of technology? Where can we engineer improvement? And we've since graduated from the car wash space to really serving industrial use cases, whether it be industrial cleaning with the Aqua Rocket, or as it's primarily used is the Ripsaw in hydro excavation. And we'll continue to look for new markets to serve where we believe we can, back to our core fundamentals, where we believe we can advance technology and find a better way to perform the job.
That's great. Especially with getting over it's amazing how many things are developed over beer. I can tell you, a lot of the products that we've come together, it's amazing how whiskey and beer has really evolved in the world today of making a lot of things come together. And like I said, I am a fan of these two nozzles. I think they have a fantastic place, especially in the paver sealing world. And I'll talk a little bit more about how I use them in the application aspects of it. But primarily, how did you get from the car wash equipment to the Aqua Rocket? How did that transition happen?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it took many years. Once we had the core technology of the turbo nozzle for its use in car wash, again, low pressure, but where we found we could develop a superior water stream to clean, the sidewalls of the car and the spray arches that go over the top of the vehicle. We looked at, that's really a core competency of Hydroflex is that engineering capacity. So we looked at what other applications where we can improve fluid dynamics. And what we saw in the turbo nozzle space related to industrial cleaning is, there had not been a lot of advancements in technology. The products or the materials used seem to be very common across the board, whether it be brass or ceramics. And we knew that our car wash nozzles and the Ripsaw had a superior life expectancy than the products on the market. And we just saw this as a really great, kind of side or adjacent category to bring the product to life. So again, it's with that expertise, the knowledge of how to engineer improvement upon existing technology, that it took a lot of testing, a lot of voice of customer to bring the Aqua Rocket to where it is today in the market.
Again, innovation and need. There's going to be a lot of discussion that's going to happen, and I know that there is of why the Aqua Rocket? Why not the Suttner? Why not this? Why not that? What's the advantages of this? So I guess where I want to kind of start off with and just basically go after this one question is how do you measure the improvement of Hydroflex and Aqua Rocket and those over existing products? Because, that's really seems to be everyone's in their comfort level. I feel comfortable with this. I find that you have three categories of customers. You have the one guy that's starting off and saying, give me the best. I want, just tell me what to do. Please just feed me with knowledge. The other customer is the one that has been using it, but they're still trying to fine tune their groove. What is it that I like? Do I like using this much SH? Do I like using this? Do I like using a proportioner? Do I like using a booster pump? Do I like using air? These types of things. And then you have the other person that says, I don't care if you're coming out with a Jesus rocket. I'm not going to use it. I'm set in the way that I'm doing that's in here. How do you measure those so that those people that are on the fence or in the news say, this is something that I want to take on?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because change is difficult. The tool's been serving you well for years. That's one facet, and certainly, when you look at price, that can be another barrier of entry. So whenever we make any product at Hydroflex, it's really important to us we understand what exists today. So you mentioned, a couple of brands that are popular in the space today. We want to look at what exists today, kind of measure what makes those products unique. And then really we spend a ton of time with doing the voice of customer understanding. So what problems can be solved, like in the sense of a contractor? What are the struggles that a contractor experiences day in and day out? Whether it's life expectancy of a product, does it clean powerfully enough? Is it durable enough to withstand? I drop the thing on the concrete and it goes down. So once we understand what attributes we want to make our product, because we never want to enter a market and be a me too. That would just be, continuing to put, the existing product and just be, equal. So we always want to come in and have a better, a stronger tool or technology. So we looked at things like life expectancy. Can I get this tool to perform longer so that I don't worry about it failing in the middle of a job? I don't worry about if I have a new member of my contracting team, I don't worry about this tool being damaged easily. We also looked at, again, how does the water stream hit the surface? So when you talk specifically about measurement, in our lab, we'll do a very extensive testing on all of our products, not only against the core attributes we define, whether that be it needs to perform 10 times longer than the existing products, or the water stream has to be that much more pure in its impingement or its strike force. So we'll measure against our own attributes at a high level, and then we'll benchmark to make sure that we have exceeded the existing products on the market today. And after all that data is captured by our lead engineers and our lab technicians, we will determine when something's ready to be trialed in the field. And once those field partners sign off that, yes, this is a tool that they believe would help them in their careers and in their business enterprises that they have, then we're ready to launch something to the greater community. And we're grateful for just the ton of members of the contract cleaner world that have helped us develop the Aqua Rocket to where it is today with our current size lineup.
And one of the things that when you talk about the development, I have noticed that one of the biggest things that people talk about with the Aqua Rocket and the Ripsaw is that you should never start. I can't tell you how many times when I'm doing a demonstration, and you're cleaning a wall, or you're cleaning above your head, or you're cleaning in different directions that are there. One of the things that I always get is, you should never start your rotating nozzle pointing other than straight down. It should never be point out. It should never be up. And why is that these other tips are saying start it down? And why is that not a concern with the products that you have?
Yeah, that's a great question. And what it's going to boil down to, well, the first part of the question is, why do you need to start it in that specific orientation? So I've got an Aqua Rocket right here. And if you take your turbo nozzle you have at home, you go into your local shop and you take one and you hit it back and forth, you're going to see that the rotor that is going to ultimately let the water release itself, that has a gap inside the cavity, whether in our case it's stainless steel, in some of the competitors it's brass. So what you hear there is it needs a little bit of room to move so that the water can fill the cavity and then start the rotation. So why you need to start it down is you picture 3,500, 4,000 pounds of force coming into that nozzle and that water slamming the wall. The materials that's used will determine how that can withstand that force of pressure. So in our case, I'm holding up the rotor here. That would be the internal components. And in this case, we've chosen to use tungsten carbide as the bottom of our rotor and the seat. So when that high pressure water comes in and makes that connection, you've got two really strong pieces of material that when that force impacts, you can start in any orientation and you're not going to do damage to the tungsten. Versus ceramic, in many cases, whether it be just that force in general, you get into some northern climates where it's really cold, that ceramic has a really brittle nature to it. So if you start down, you're now resting the ceramic on the seat and you're taking that impact force out. If you start up, it's got enough room to just slam itself into each other, which creates a weakness or a weak point that could cause the rotor to shatter, and then you're going to get that lasering effect. So it's back to find a better way. If we're choosing superior materials that makes it last longer, kind of take some of the variable about your knowledge is strong, Mike, so you understand the orientation piece. But if I'm a new operator or you have an employee on your team as a contractor with multiple crews, we want to take that fear away that this tool isn't going to last, and it's going to be a high-priced piece of junk essentially in the bucket that collects the old parts bucket that I'm sure a lot of guys can relate to.
Well, and it is frustrating that when you have these, I find, and I want to talk about this. I think this is a question that we talked about before, and I think it's something that you're going to really want to talk about. And so I don't feel like I'm surprising you with this, sure. But I can't tell you how many times I have bought a turbo nozzle or a rotating tip, and I've spent $70, $80 on it, and I use it for a couple of weeks, and something happens. Mm-hmm. Something. I'm not out there with my crews. I'm not out there, and you could tell people all day long, make sure you start it down. You ask them, did you start it down? And they will swear up and down that's what they did and how they did it. And so It's your word against them. Well, no, you didn't. But the frustrating part is that when you go back to something that you just spent $70, $80 on, and the first thing that they tell you is, you must not have started it down. It's your fault. Mm-hmm. We're not taking any responsibility. So the reason that I bring that up is that this helps eliminate some of that questionability because of being able to start it in any direction. But that doesn't mean things still don't break. I mean, things do happen. But I did have somebody that said, you know what, I had a Aqua Rocket. I had it for a month and it broke, and I don't know if it was worth it. I'm bringing this up for a reason. My next question was, did you contact Aqua Rocket? They've got a warranty, a guarantee that satisfaction guarantee for a duration of time. So you have a company that is going to stand behind you on this type of product because they believe in the engineering of it. And that's why I think it's so important to talk about standing behind their product. Anybody that knows me at 3i Supply, Easy Nano Seal, knows that we stand behind our products and what we do. And that's what really gravitated to me of saying, here we are. Here's somebody that shares the same values as we do.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that. And yeah, if I could just add to it, every unit, so we manufacture, everything's been engineered, manufactured, and ships from our facility in Minneapolis. And no product is put into a box or leaves our facility until it's been tested for purity of water stream and function. So we believe that every product that's arrived on the shelf was 100% functioning when it left our doorstep. And because of the strength of the materials that we've chosen, we absolutely will support that 90-day warranty. To tell a quick story of a distributor up here in the north near our office, this individual told me that he'll have somebody return another brand of turbo nozzle to his shop saying it didn't work after a day, to your point, Mike. And him as a distributor, he has a hard time warranting that product because he's not sure, did it drop out of the box? Did you drop it off a roof? There's a whole host of things. And he's very passionate about our products as well because, like you said, he knows that we'll stand behind him as our manufacturer build and our warranty process. So if something does go wrong, we strongly encourage people to partner with us, with your local distributor, and we'll absolutely help to find the solution to what caused it to go wrong and how do we rectify that situation.
That's great. And that's why I wanted to bring up that aspect there. So let's talk a little bit. I want to talk about the ripsaw.
Yes.
The ripsaw, out of all the things, people look at this, it's got a different type of look to it. Yep. It's got a kind of a sexiness to it that I like to say. It's round and shiny on the top. Wait a minute. You kind of, did they name it after you, right? So yeah. That's what it is. So they call you the ripsaw. But anyway, I want to talk about the ripsaw. And what makes it different, and why should somebody be looking at a ripsaw? And I'll explain to why we utilize a ripsaw over the Aqua Rocket in certain situations. But can you explain the difference between the two?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's many design elements that are similar, such as the tungsten carbide, the seat, and the tip of the rotor. So again, providing you with that stronger material to withstand all kind of harsh elements. And then it's a stainless steel housing that, again, over time will stand up to the wear and tear and abuse that maybe hard water conditions will put the nozzles through. From there, where it gets different quickly is you'll see on the cover. So on the Aqua Rocket, it's a rubber shell. This rubber shell is designed in industrial cleaning applications that you're not coming into contact with tough conditions like rock or soil beating this up. This also has an impact. So if you do drop it, it will absorb some of that impact to keep the internal components working. On the ripsaw, this is a hard exterior polyurethane. And this tool was designed specifically for the hydro excavation marketplace. So the use of high pressure water to locate public utilities, for use in oil fields, for trenching applications, for replacement in different piping situations and pipelines. So that hard shell is a safety design as you're digging underground and you're shooting sand or you're shooting rock and clay and all types of hard soil surfaces. This plastic is going to stand up because there's a safety feature. When that stainless steel housing has been exposed, it's important that operators understand there's a safety risk and that they replace the tool. So we wanted to find a material that stood up very long term in that digging condition. One of the other design features that separates the two units as well is the ripsaw has a slower rotational cone. And that slow rotation is designed, if you're digging with high pressure water, that slow rotation helps you to cut the earth in a really strong way. Conversely, in cleaning, a slow rotation would equal striping. And we know operators want to avoid the striping feature so that they can clean in a one-pass or a two-pass solution and move on to the next section of, let's say, concrete. So we want a fast rotation in cleaning. We want a slow rotation when we're trying to dig. And beyond that, again, manufactured, engineered, tested out the door, and a really powerful tool in this space, and really a leading category for Hydroflex.
That's great. Well, I've got a couple of questions that have kind of come in from a couple of people here. I'm going to throw one up here. It says, is the ripsaw safe for pavers when removing polymeric sand? And I remove a lot of polymeric sand. We got a lot of guys down here that are doing a lot of polymeric sand removal. And I find that in my experience, I'm going to let you talk about this, is that, sure, yes, it is safe when removing polymeric sand.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Mike. It is safe. You're going to have a really a great pure water stream out of both of our products, but that slower rotation may give you more of that cutting force. I would just encourage, since it is such a strong, powerful stream, that I think, Mike, you shared a story of, if you're holding it in any one spot for too long, there's risk of damaging the customer's, the paver itself. So we are proud of that impingement and that water stream, but it can also be detrimental if you're holding that onto, that surface for any long period of time. So I think, Mike, that was part of what you shared with your personal experience and your guys there locally.
Well, I agree. We have had a lot of we had some experience with it even as of today, and I'm gonna talk about this right now. I'm gonna kind of do a split screen so we can talk a little bit more. I had some guys that were out today, and I thought I was going to be able to share the actual video into this, but I will post up that video into it there. There's a lot of concern, especially with pavers that are over different types of bases, and there's a hydrostatic where the minerals start to come up, especially when you have a really high grade of pavers, and you start to get that white calcium buildup that's inside of it that's there. And there's been a lot of discussion that's happened. How do you remove those? And some people are using straight muriatic acid, but ultimately they all tend to lead towards using some type of rotating nozzle. So today we had a client that contacted us. We were out there earlier this morning. We were using a different turbo tip about 2 weeks ago, and we really couldn't get it to budge. We really were hammering down on top of it. We brought the customer out. We softened it up with a little bit of an effluent and a muriatic, but we really could not get it off. So the customer was at the point of saying, you know what? Do what you can do, clean what you can. I said, but wait, now I've got these 2 new tips that are coming in. I would like to just, if you wouldn't mind waiting a couple of days, these are coming in. I want to give it a shot. So we use the Aqua Rocket, and by using the Aqua Rocket, what we found is we were able to get 75 to 80% of that out, which is a drastic improvement from what we were at. We thought, hey, if that's going to do it, then let's get that ripsaw out. So we did get the ripsaw out. We were able to pull hunks of it out, considerably better with that. But what we noticed is with the original turbo tip that we had, and we were hitting it, we could sit on top of it for 30, 40 seconds before we started seeing that there was any damage happening to the paver itself. With the Aqua Rocket, it was about 10 to 15 seconds, and with the Aqua Rock or with the ripsaw, it was about 5 or 6 seconds. Now, what I'm trying to say is that just with anything that you have to take cautious. With more power comes more responsibility. So just because you're a soft washing person doesn't mean you should be going out and throwing 4,000 PSIs at 10 gallons per minute on the side of a building. So you have to take things in consideration and find that balance. But what we found is I would still be turbo tipping with the first tips. I'm actually getting the work done with these tips here. So anything can do damage in access too much SH, too much muriatic, too much beer, well, maybe not, but too much of anything can cause access, can cause damage. But I found that in those tough situations, I was able to rely on the Aqua Rocket and the Ripsaw to help me get those pieces out. That makes sense? Now, I got another question that come up here. I'm going to throw this up here. So it's really two questions. So I'm going to read the first part, and then I'll show the second part because I don't know if I can show both of them here. It says that I heard the Aqua Rocket is very quiet. Is that true? And then it says sometimes when you use the turbo nozzle in closed areas, it can be very loud. Any insight on that? I mean, everyone's definition of loud is different.
Yep.
But in comparison to others.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm sensitive to say yes or no. When we've done our testing, we'll pull the pressure washer out of our shop and run some water when we're looking at different nozzles and how does ours vibrate versus the next. They all sound a little bit different for sure. I happen to think ours sounds the sweetest. I don't want to speak to that specifically because each one, varies degree to degree, but absolutely something we could maybe do some testing on and see if there's some truth to that and provide some follow-up information to Mike to put out to this group.
And I will give you my testament as of a couple of days ago. I always tell people that when you're using a turbo tip, you should always use ear protection. You should always use eye protection. You should always use ear. This is our safety moment right now, saying, make sure you protect yourself because you are digging things out. If we can't see and we can't hear and we can't feel and we can't taste, we can't do our job. So always take care of yourselves and make sure that you're doing those things. What I did notice, though, is that when I used all three of them, they have a different pitch to them. Mm-hmm. So as you talked about before with the rotating that happens inside of it, by slowing down the rotation, it actually lowers the decibels that you're going to be into. So you don't hear the high buzz of one. You don't hear a medium buzz that's going on. But the slower the rotation, the more powerful the hit, the lower the decibels are going to be. It's very much like a drum. Is the tighter that it is, the more you hit it, the higher the pitch, the higher the sound to it. As you start to shrink that down, it's going to become a lower of a bass that's there. So I noticed that when I was cleaning with the Aqua Rocket, I noticed that the sound was not as loud as a previous turbo nozzle. But I also noticed that with the Ripsaw, it sounded more like a instead of a. Now, you only get one show with that. It is recorded. So I'm not going to do that again. But you can see, I believe that it is quieter. But is it quiet? No. Hey, look, we're blasting stuff.
Yep.
We're blasting things. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mike, because, again, I'm sensitive to saying yes or no, having not have any actual data to support that. But that Ripsaw, sometimes it sounds, when guys are digging holes, it sounds like a helicopter blade going around. It's got a really cool sound when you're digging with it.
It does. How similar is the Aqua Rocket to the Ripsaw? Is there similarities that are there?
Absolutely. The stainless steel housings are going to carry a very the conical look when you remove the covers. They're going to be very similar. The rotor itself has a lot of defining features for it, but you described the spinning feature. One spins at like 3,200 RPM. That's the Ripsaw. The Aqua Rocket's up at 6,400-ish RPM when it gets going inside the cavity. So we need to use different materials on the bearings to make sure that functions. They are, but very similar in the tungsten carbide, the seat and the rotor. Again, a strong material, something we adopted from our car wash nozzles we started making 15 years ago that just allows them to last so much longer than the competition. We did a lab test where we started 9 competitor nozzles. This video is on our YouTube channel at hydroflexinc.com. We started 9 competitor nozzles in the vertical orientation and cycled every 30 seconds to see what was the life expectancy under that harsh condition. 8 of the nozzles failed at 58 hours or earlier. I think the lowest was 4 hours of life in that condition. The Aqua Rocket made it to 204 hours of life under that same harsh condition. So the Ripsaw would stand up very similar to that because of that tungsten carbide seat and rotor that just has, it can just take an abuse.
Yeah. Well, so another question that came up here, I'm gonna throw this out here. Let me get this switched over here. Is do you need an inline filter?
We get that a lot. The Aqua Rocket, you wouldn't be able to see, but in this 1/4-inch inlet, there is a screen that's put in there. We do sell replacement dome screens that our distributors can carry on hand. For a pack of 10, it's only a few bucks. So if you know your water is harsh, there's nothing wrong with putting kind of that extra firewall in there to catch, make sure you're filtering out the maximum amount of debris. But our dome screen filter will catch the bulk of what's in there. And if you pop it out with a pen, you can replace it for just a couple of cents and you're back in. You don't have to clean it. So the answer is truly you don't need one. But I would recommend if you know your water is harsh, go with it for if it's in your toolbox already or for a couple extra bucks to get extended life from the tool. It's worth the extra investment to have that downstream there.
Yeah. Well, and also, how easy is it? I got a text message that just came in on my phone that was right here. I get people that just kind of different directions. Either they're going to be on Facebook or something else like that.
Sure.
Replacement parts. How easy to fix this thing? Something happens to it. How easy is it for me to, I'm not a technical guy, but how easy is it for us to fix these things? Yeah,
it's extremely easy. The parts just have to go back in the right direction. So I've got a Ripsaw here. The Aqua Rocket would build just as effectively. Get your wrench out, take the cap off. The parts are going to fall out. You've got a rotor. You've got the top screen. You've got the rubber boot, and then you'd want to get a pen and press down from the opposite side, and you're going to get the seat out. And all you got to do is turn around, take your replacement part, and go the other direction. So make sure the O-ring goes down in the seat, press in, press the rubber boot back into the cavity so it sits tight, rotor in, make sure the lip is up on this cap, get your wrench out, tighten this bad boy, and we were apart and back together that quickly. With practice, you could do it just as effectively, but again, as long as everything goes back in the right orientation, you're back up and running that quick if you got a spare parts kit in your toolbox.
Awesome. Well, I think we've gotten a lot of really good information. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest things that, this is the gorilla in the room.
Sure.
Here it comes. We got the elephant in the room. We got the gorilla in the room. We've got Mike Kilgore in the room. We got Mike Tony's in the room. When someone looks at a turbo tip or they're looking at a rotating nozzle and they say, look, I can get one for $70, you're asking for $200 for a Aqua Rocket. You're asking for $300 for a Ripsaw. What do you say to someone who's concerned about that price point?
Mm-hmm. It's a great question, and it's whether I'm talking to an end user who calls in to learn more about our tool or a distributor that I'm engaging with in a part of the country to carry our products in their shop. It's absolutely a point of contention, or we need to understand it. So I always start with there's different types of operators. So there's your weekend warrior, doesn't invest a ton in their gear right out the gate. I think that lower end turbo nozzle is an absolute great tool for those individuals because it doesn't become part of your everyday ability to earn money for your business and grow your business. When you get into the higher end contractor who understands investment in their trailers, in their proportioner systems, that's really the target audience for a more expensive tool. So for that person, so you've identified the right individual that this tool supports from a business case. What I challenge those folks to think about is replacement costs. So I shared that statistic in our video, 204 hours in life in the Aqua Rocket. The next closest competitor was 58 hours. So if you do the math on the replacement costs over the course of, dollar per hour, if you got that granular, you'd be looking at about 30% increase in cost by staying with the $75 or $85 nozzle to get the same life expectancy. So replacement costs can go down. That's one piece of the puzzle. Two, it's you could think about trust in the your employee, that person who you're not sure, did they drop the tool? Mike, you were telling the story earlier. Well, what happened to the nozzle? How come it doesn't work? So how much of the dollars today go towards failure due to human error? And can you eliminate that because you have a more virtually indestructible tool that you've handed to the employee? So I think that's an element of consideration for the contractor or the person making the decision to make the change. And then probably the biggest is, what is the return on investment from the time you save to perform the job? So you mentioned 45 seconds with a competitor's nozzle to get a piece, to clean a section of the paver. Well, if you're out in 10 seconds and you do that math over the course of all the jobs that you perform and bid on, is that one extra job a week? Is it an extra job a month? Am I paying for water on my trailer? Am I, how fast can I move? And then what does that savings mean in water conservation? What does it mean in more jobs that I can perform? So we built a superior tool. We know it costs more, but we also believe there is a true end of the line value, whether it be replacement costs, profit for your business, through replacement costs or through more jobs, that absolutely is worth getting involved in and testing out. And Mike, I think your experience with your crews locally tells an even better story than I just did about your personal experiences there.
Well, it has. I'm a fan. We are using them as early as today. We're a big fan of it. I can tell you that the objective for us is to try to educate as much as we possibly can about products. That's why when we came on the phone on here and said, well, how long a time do we have? You know what? We have as much time to adequately answer this. And I'm sure there's going to be multiple people out there that are going to have questions about this product. We're going to be posting this inside of 3i Supply Contractors Only. We're going to be posting it up on different groups. We're going to have it on Facebook, on YouTube, a lot of places where people can go in and get information to it there. So is there anything else that maybe I didn't ask, or anything else you want to just tell us that could help?
No, I think the questions were great. I appreciate the feedback from the audience on some more specifics. Mike was giving me softballs the whole time. So I appreciate that, Mike. But no, I'm excited to tell the story. We launched the product last summer. We were missing some key sizes to support really the contractor community. We finalized that project, and now going from sizes 3.0 to 10.0 in this Aqua Rocket family. We just can't wait to get out and tell the story further and support the community. We will be, Hydroflex and myself will have a booth at the SETA Power Clean show in October. We will leave on Orlando and go straight to Houston for the UAMCC show. I hope there's a lot of folks watching that will have a chance to come by the booth and see it in action, whether it be in a demo outside or actually feel the quality in the material. And we're continuing to look for local distribution so that these tools, these are need now products for each of you to perform your job at a high level. We hope to be available in all the markets to support the community. And again, I started with a thanks to Mike and 3i Supply for one, believing in the product from the stories we were telling before a video like this, and the kind of the in-person, seeing is believing proof that you've experienced over the last couple of days. Excited to have a partner in in Florida there, Mike.
That's great. Well, we want to thank you, Mike, for taking some time out here on Tuesday, and we really want to appreciate you coming in, explaining this, and hopefully this helps somebody to understand a little bit more about how the whole process is, and we really appreciate that. So thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Hold on one second here, and I'll get right back to you there. So as you can see, we spent a little bit of time with Mike there. As you can see, Easy Nano Seal, Ninja Power Soft Wash, 3i Supply. We're all here to try to help give you as much information as you can possibly get on each product. We want to spend the time to make sure that you have as many details as possible. Now, we couldn't ask all the questions that you may have, but if you do have any questions, feel free to post them down underneath. I'll make sure that Mike's part of this group here. He can answer those questions. But more importantly, if you want a ripsaw or you want an Aqua Rocket, give us a call at 727-388-4969. Visit us on our website, which is www.supply.net, and we look forward to helping you be successful. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.